Welcome back to Kennedy Sports Guys Podcast. I'm your host, Kenny Sabura, and today I have a special guest. With over 15 years experience working as a sports journalist, Dexter Henry does it all. Hailing from Brooklyn, New York, Henry has worked for various media outlets in New York City, such as the New York Post, the New York Daily News, ESPN Deportes, New York Giants, the Props Network, and AccuWeather. He is also the 2021 Telly Award winner. In 2010, Dexter created his own media outlet, Backpack Broadcasting. In 2017, he created his two original series, Sideline Stories and The Sports Walk. He is also the co-host of a Hard to Tell podcast and the host of a digital NBA show, The NBA Exchange. Please welcome to the show, Dexter Henry. Thank you for being on the show today, man.
Thank you for having me, Kenny. Really glad we were able to connect and do this. I'm happy. Yeah.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
So basically, I have the first question I have for you is, what made you go into sports broadcasting?
What made me go into sports broadcasting? Okay, so to do that, we got to go back, right? A little bit. And
15 years.
15 years, we're going before that. We're going to go back even further than that. So for me, I always had a love of sports, Kenny, right? Growing up as a kid in East Flatbush, Brooklyn, I love sports. And one of the things I found myself doing in my middle school years was I always would get the paper on the way to school, back when people actually bought the paper. And I was reading on the bus or the train to go to school, and I always was reading the sports section no matter what. And I don't think I really thought about sports journalism as a career, especially in the broadcast side. But when I got to college at the University of Pittsburgh, my major at that time was athletic training. I wanted to be an athletic trainer for a team, but I realized the science classes, I just didn't love it, didn't have the passion for it. And I saw these guys on my campus who were doing some stuff on the television station with sports. And I got involved in that. And the rest is really history from there, man. I got involved and I really loved it. I loved everything about it, the storytelling, the working behind the scenes, editing, shooting, reporting on camera. I loved it all. So that was really the decision. So back in, I guess that would be 2002. That's when I kind of was like, all right, I'm all in on this. I love sports. I love storytelling. I've always loved the both and combined it together. And so the rest is history. And then I did all that stuff that you mentioned in the intro. So
trust me, I did my research on you. So
you did. I like that. All
right. The next question I'll have for you is, how did you get your foot in the door in terms of sports broadcasting?
Yeah. So I really credit a lot of my foot in the door in a way to the stuff I did in college with the Panther Sports Network at the University of Pittsburgh. That's where I sort of honed my skills. But graduating from college in 2005, I was kind of stuck where, am I going to stay out in Pittsburgh? Am I going to go to a smaller market? That's what a lot of people do in broadcast journalism. They say go to a smaller market. But you and I, we know being from New York, it's probably tough sometimes to go other places.
One of the toughest places, actually.
Yes, it is in the toughest place and the number one market, right?
Yep,
so
exactly.
My dream was, I was like, well, I want to come back home and work. And, I sent my tape out to a couple of places. Nothing happened. I ended up coming back home. And this is, I think, will be good for your listeners, is sometimes your first opportunity isn't exactly what you want to do. So my first opportunity was, I wanted to do broadcast, which is mainly what I do now. But I started off in print. I wrote for a small paper in Brooklyn called the Brooklyn Skyline. I started covering sports there, a lot of high school sports. And actually with a lot of people, if you're in the New York area, some people you might know, Ian Begley, who's a good friend of mine with covers the New York Knicks. We all started covering high school sports. He was working for the Daily News and I did it different places, but that was kind of my foot in the door. I then left that job and went to another job working for CBS, basically as a broadcast associate, which is pretty much like an assistant to the producer. And I really hated that job. But one of the bigger breaks for me came, I got a job at MLB.com being a game night editor. And after that, I got a job, which I'll consider my really big on-camera break, working for the New York Post as a video journalist there back in 2007, 2008. And that was huge for me because I got reps in front of the camera. I got experience covering the Yankees, the Mets, the Knicks, Nets, Jets. I got experience doing all that stuff. So that was really a fun time. And that was kind of my big break and foot in the door. And then I went to other places like News 12, you and I were talking about before we started recording. So just getting my teeth cut with local news and doing things around there in New York. So that was really how I got my foot in the door. But as you can see from my story, it started with print. And I really just kind of found different ways to keep myself close to broadcast. So whether it was editing, logging highlights, I found ways in different places to do it. So I just stayed hungry, and it worked out. So I'm glad I stayed hungry with it, but it wasn't easy at that time. It was a little challenging to keep that mindset and stay positive. But I did, and I had the support of a lot of good people, including my parents. So that helped a ton too.
Segueing to my next question, as a person who recently entered the sports broadcasting realm, what keeps you motivated to stay in this realm, this business?
I think what keeps me motivated, Kenny, is that there's always good stories to tell, right? And what I like today, and I feel like sometimes people who are older don't acknowledge this, but what I love is I love what you're doing, right? Like I love that now there's so many opportunities for different people who want to start stuff in sports broadcasting to do their own thing, to start their own podcast. I'm a big believer. If I didn't start opportunities and create opportunities for myself, I don't think I would be where I'm at today. So whenever I see people like you doing it, or other younger people that are doing it, that motivates me still. It's in a way of like, okay, well, like if they can follow from something I did, or I can talk to them and inspire them more. I love seeing the next generation of people continue. That's how it should be. And I just think sports in general is always getting better, right? Like athletes are getting better.
It's always evolving.
Yeah, it's always evolving. I'm never the person that's like, man, I wish the game was like this 10 or 20 years ago. Change is constant. And some of it is good, some of it is not always so good. But in sports, just the athletic feats that we're seeing, the things we're seeing different athletes do, it's amazing. And that love of that combined with my love of storytelling is always what motivates me to continue to go forward more and more.
I appreciate the compliment. I actually entered this like a year ago.
Yeah.
Podcasting world, and I'm still learning the ropes and stuff. Before that, I was actually a teacher, believe it or not, for like 4 years.
Huh.
And then my sports started to take over my mind. So I was like, one day, I was like, I just want to start my own podcast. The reason why is because ESPN is like kind of shying away from sports. That's what I believe in. And they talk about other, issues going around the world. So I was like, maybe I could just have my own like podcast and have my own voice,
I mean, I think what you did is so important, right? Like we all have our own voice. And if you don't like the way something is being done, or it doesn't cater to you in a specific way, right? Like a couple things. One, you don't have to watch, right? It's not the only thing. And the beauty of broadcast journalism at this time is there's so many options. So somebody might like what I'm doing. Somebody might like what you're doing, Kenny. Somebody might like what somebody else is doing all over there. And that's all good and beautiful. I think long as it comes from a pure place in your passion for sports and love, I think that's beautiful. You know what I mean? And if I'm a big believer in create the kind of change that you want to see.
Exactly.
So yeah, you're doing that. You were like, hey, this is not the kind of thing I want, but I'm going to build my audience. And that's beautiful, man. I think it's great. Yeah.
Thank you, man. I really do appreciate that. And I just feel like, this is going to work out, and trying to be on your level, basically.
Hey, man, like, but that's what's important too, Kenny, is that I think that, people always, I'm honored for you to even say to somebody to tell me that, hey, they want to be on my level. That's an honor to me for someone to say that to me. But at the same time, I always feel like as a broadcast journalist, it's always important for us to connect with people. I never want to forget where I was 15 years ago. So I understand what it's like starting out. I understand that people always have a lot of questions. Sometimes you need inspiration. Mentors are important for that.
Yep.
And I think it's good that you seek those and you find those and you talk. And so, yeah, I never want to be too big to be like, oh, I can't hop on somebody else's podcast that's starting out, because I started a podcast once. I started my own content. So, I know how daunting it is. But one thing I would like to say, Kenny, I think that your listeners should give you a lot of credit for is that you took a jump. You told me that you were a teacher for 4 years. I don't know if you had said 4 years ago, but you were a teacher and you decided, hey, look, I want to do something a little bit different or change something in my life. That's hard for a lot of people to do. So the fact that you jumped and said, hey, I'm going to do this, thumbs up to you, man. That's beautiful.
I really do appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
That actually means a lot. So the next question I have is, How do you deal with adversity when things weren't going your way now and in the past?
Man, that's a great question because a lot of times, Kenny, there were things early in my career where I was like, yo, is this going to work out? Is this going to be okay? Where maybe I remember my first couple of years working at the paper and I really wanted to get on the broadcast side of things. And I was like, where's the opportunity coming? And I've shared the story when I've been on some other podcasts, but I'll share this. My first job when I was working at the newspaper, I was let go after like 9 months. And I was kind of
wow.
yeah. And I was like, oh man, like where am I going to go? What's going to happen now? And maybe I want to say sometime in that 9-month period, I had went to a taping back in the day. Stephen A. used to have a show called Quite Frankly.
Yeah, I actually met him one time.
Yeah. And so I had met him before this, though. I met him at a Big East tournament in college and just chatted with him one time. And he said, hey, take my email. This is when he still was writing for the Philadelphia Inquirer. Told me to take his email. And when I had, lost this job, was let go, I sent him an email, told him kind of where my mindset was at the time, which I was really down in the dumps, didn't know what I was going to do, where to turn next. Yeah. And he responded to me. He sent me this really nice email. And the thing that always sticks out to me in this email till today, and I've thanked him for this, I've seen him many times since then, I've thanked him, but he said to me, take advantage. He said, you will figure your way, but take advantage of any opportunity that you think is going to get you to where it is that you want to go. And I've really followed that advice closely in my career, which means there hasn't always been things that I thought, okay, I'm going to directly be here and this is going to put me into sports journalism. I went into weather reporting for a while. I did that for the past 3 years. But it got me to report on a national level. It did a lot of things for me. That was great.
Vision right there.
Yeah. And so sometimes it's not linear. Sometimes it's listening to that voice inside yourself, like you did, saying, I'm going to do a podcast. You're like, I don't know how to do a podcast. I'm going to figure it out, right? Like I'm going to continue to self-taught, right? Like I'm going to reach out to people. I'm going to ask them to come on. I'm going to put myself out there. Those are looking for opportunities that can take you to where you want to go and just identifying those. And so that got me through a lot. I would also say my family got me through a lot. My parents, kudos to them that they believed in me a ton. Particularly my dad really motivated me a lot because he saw a lot of stuff in me in terms of broadcast journalism. From what he said when I was young. I remember when I told him I was going to change my major, he was like, oh no, I see this for you. This is what you.
Oh, actually, I know that story when I did the same thing with my father. So
yeah, and it's sometimes my mom didn't react the same way at first. She wanted me to stick with the athletic training, but my dad really, he saw it. And so when you have people that believe in you, Kenny, I think that matters a ton, right? Like in terms of just giving you that motivation. So when there are tough times, when there are times where you say, I don't know if I could do this, I doubt it, you lean back in on that a little bit. And those are the things that help push you through to the next step. I really do believe. So that's what it was for me. A lot of it was trying to stay positive, self-confidence, leaning on my close group of people around me, including my family. And that's what got me through. And, part of life is there's going to be tough times. And one of the things I try to do now, because you asked me about it now too, I think now I try to stay present in the moment. I try to be grateful for what I've done and what I believe I will do. And once my energy is focused on that, I tend to feel better. We're going to always have tough times, but I think when you stay present and you realize it's a blessing that I'm doing a podcast, it's a blessing I'm on a podcast talking to you. When you think those ways, you try to stay positive, it does help. I believe it helps.
Well, yeah, you actually have a point. And one thing I always learn, like in my life so far, is you could overcome every adversity that's handed to you. So you just gotta roll with the punches and just keep going, and just drown out the outside noise. And who knows, you're gonna be like the next Stephen A. Smith or Skip Bayless one day.
Right. Nobody could, one of the things I tell people, Kenny, and I think a lot of people ask me in terms of sports broadcasting, is like, well, how do you do this? Or how does this work? And this is not a very satisfying answer to people, but what I do say is there's no blueprint. Like I cannot tell Kenny the way to do what he's going to do. There's only a couple things I believe in. I believe in you have to stay positive.
Mhm.
You have to be willing to work hard, right, in your craft, and you have to be able to utilize connections, make connections, be willing to listen and learn. These are the core things I believe that works. But I cannot tell you, hey, if you go from this point to this point to this point, then you'll get here. My story is not somebody else's story.
Exactly.
Isn't Kenny's story. And I think, but I also feel like that's the beauty of the industry. There's no blueprint for it. And especially, like I said today, with the way opportunities are open, with social media, et cetera, there's really no blueprint for how somebody's going to quote unquote blow up. So, I think you just have to believe in yourself and stay true to your brand and what it is that you do. And, the chips will fall where they may and things will work out how they're supposed to.
That's actually very, very good advice. And I appreciate you, saying that to my listeners and more importantly to me, because I need to hear that. Because, I'm trying to make it as well. And there's no doubt that I will. All right.
That confidence matters, Kenny. That confidence matters. I like that.
All right. Enough with the whole career talk. Let's talk about some NBA.
All right. Let's go. That's my favorite league. There we go.
All right. So the question I have for you is, who is your favorite NBA team? Okay.
So I grew up a New York Knicks fan. Long suffering.
Same here.
There you go. We got some connection, Kenny. Long suffering New York Knicks fan. I mean, I saw some good years with them growing up in the 90s. They didn't win, but they went to 2 finals. I love those teams. Then they went through a very dark period, which I feel bad.
Don't mention that.
I feel bad for younger Knicks fans. Like when I talk to Knicks fans who were under 30, I'm just like, man, I feel bad for y'all because y'all haven't really seen any winning. But this is a nice segue, Kenny. I like what the Knicks have been doing the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I think the organization looks competent. I love the hiring of Tom Thibodeau. Always a fan of him and his defense. The team has a culture right now.
Culture of winning, finally.
Culture of winning.
Culture of losing after a decade plus.
Yeah. Got to the playoffs last year. If you're watching this season, you kind of could see how they're playing together. They look a little bit better offensively. They're going to play hard every night. They're not going to cheat you. Do I still probably think they're another star away? Probably. But if you're a Knicks fan and you watch what we've watched for the last 20 years, you have to be excited right now.
I'm excited, man.
They're competent. We're not hearing anything about James Dolan. So it's good. I think you should enjoy the moment as you're a Knicks fan. You don't have to be negative and be like, oh, when is the other shoe going to drop? When's it going to go bad? Right now, it's pretty good. I know it's early this season, but right now they look pretty good.
So, segue to my next question, who is your favorite NBA player?
Of all time, or currently right now?
Currently or all time?
Okay, so currently my favorite NBA player is Luka Doncic. I'm a big Doncic fan.
Oh, me too. I'm the same way. I love Luka.
Yeah, I'm a Luka fan, man. I love this game. I thought so many people doubted him when he was drafted. I still can't believe he got picked 5th overall. I saw this kid playing the EuroLeague. I'm a basketball nut, Kenny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I saw this kid playing. Yeah, I saw this kid playing the EuroLeague, and I was among grown men at 17, 18. I was like, this kid is amazing. I think he has a chance to be the best international player ever. What he's doing in the league, there's some things he can still grow and get better at, but I just love watching his game. I just think his ability to create space and get his own shot off, and his vision and passing. He's not the most athletic guy, but which is why I think people were not looking at how good he was, because sometimes people overvalue athleticism. But he's really good. Of all time, probably Kobe. Rest in peace to the late, great Kobe Bryant. Yeah, Kobe was one of my favorite guys of all time. I mean, in terms of out of that, I mean, as far as Knicks go, I was a big John Starks fan growing up. Patrick Ewing, so I love those guys as Knicks. But yeah, Luka right now, Kobe probably my favorite player to watch of all time. Yeah.
So with me, my favorite player of all time has to be Shaq.
Oh, you're a Shaq guy. Okay.
I'm a Shaq guy.
Nice.
But right now in the current NBA, it's a toss-up between Kevin Durant or Luka Doncic.
But
I'm leaning towards Luka Doncic because I like his style. I love his basketball style. I like the way he shoots. I like the way he plays defense. Yeah, unfortunately, he plays in Dallas. So Dallas is not really a championship-ready team right now.
Right.
They have been close 2 years ago, but I feel like they just need one more piece to win the championship.
Yeah, that's a team I'm really watching close this year, Kenny, because how Porzingis plays and bounces back if he can be healthy. But I'm kind of with you on what you said. I don't love the pieces
Yeah,
around Luka yet. I think he needs another piece, and some of the role players, they're okay. They're not as cohesive as a team. They're one of the best players in the league, but I'm not sure him playing at his best elevates them to a level where it's like, okay, they can get to a Western Conference Finals.
hmm
I'm not sure right now. We saw last year, Luka played out of his mind in that
he
first round
did.
series against
And
the
he needed
Clippers.
help.
Yeah, and they could have beat the Clippers. They were up 2-0 on
Yeah,
the Clippers. Credit to the Clippers for coming back, but Luka had no help in that
no,
series,
he
man.
didn't.
Like, so they got to get him some help, man. They got to get him some. Or what we both would like, Kenny? Him to come to the Knicks. I know we'd like that. I know we'd
we
like
want
that.
we want every single superstar to come to the Knicks. So
Yeah, we do.
if we
That's Knicks
do,
fans
then
for you.
that's gonna be like 20 championships in a row.
That'll be
And
nice.
also going back with the Mavericks, I think their head coach is like not really that good, Jason Kidd.
Yeah,
And
man.
I'm like Jason Kidd, man. I don't know why they fired Rick Carlisle for him. It makes
Well,
no sense.
yeah, so there was all that stuff going on with Bob Voulgaris, the guy who's a gambling guru who was
hmm
around the Mavs, and then Donnie Nelson wasn't happy, and Rick Carlisle, who I agree with you, is a fantastic coach, and I think
Yeah,
we'll
yes.
see. We've already seen the impact defensively, what he's been able to try to do in Indiana. Their defense hasn't looked that great early on the season, but Rick Carlisle's a good coach. Um, your points on Jason Kidd, I agree with you. I think my thing with Kidd is like, we saw in Milwaukee, Kenny, that it didn't work with some of the schemes he had and didn't get the most out of Giannis at that time. And that was a much younger Giannis.
hmm
And then Brooklyn before that, I just don't think he was ready. I was covering that Nets team a lot at that time. I just don't think he was ready, along with some of the pieces they had on that team was kind of a mixed smash of guys I just don't think were ready to play here in New York. And now I just, he gets the shot with Dallas. I think a lot of it has to do with his relationship with Cuban
Yeah, of course.
and what people believe. Now, this is what people believe, Kenny. They believe he can get a lot out of Luka. But to your point, I don't know. I don't really know what Jason Kidd has not been good at the head coach. Let's just keep it real. You are what your record is, as
Yeah,
Bill Parcells
he's
used to
been
say.
pretty decent though. For a
Yeah,
guy that actually asked for like ownerships and ownership stake
yes,
in
forgot about that.
Milwaukee.
Yes,
Oh my
right,
god! I'm like, really? Come on, man! You haven't even proven yourself yet. You're
right.
not John Gruden.
Right, you're right. Yeah, yeah. Even that, as right, John Gruden was accomplished to get the money that he got before
Yeah,
he,
yeah.
pissed it away.
hmm
But yeah, no, to that point, yes, he's not. So that was an interesting hire for me, right? Like that hire is all based on the fact that you think that a Hall of Fame point guard in Jason Kidd is going to be able to get the most out of Luka Doncic. If the
hmm
Mavericks are right, then fantastic. But I think what matters is, can Kidd coach the other players? What's the most he can get out? Can he motivate a Kristaps Porzingis? We'll see. I'm willing to give him a chance, but I'll tell you what, if you got a talent like Luka and he does not show something in terms of that roster or getting them to a better place this year, I'll even give him more till next year. That's going to be a hot seat in Dallas pretty quick, man. Pretty quickly.
I give him 2 years in Dallas.
You think
Two
two when
years,
he's done?
2 years.
Yeah, and I think giving him 2 is fair. What does he do in 2 years? Like, there has to be progress. Some of that's going to be on the front office too. You have what I think is already a top 5 player,
hmm
and he's not even in his prime. So if you don't get this done right now, it's not good. It's not good.
Ain't good at all. So,
Nope.
all right. The next question: shine away for Dallas. What are your thoughts on the NBA season so far?
Okay, so far, so early. We are what? Most
Five
teams play
games,
4 or
six
5
games.
games. Yeah, most teams play 4 or 5 games. I think what's interesting is early on, I think you're seeing a better flow of the game thus far early on. Kenny, I think a lot of it has to do with the officiating and how they've gotten rid of these calls by players who were hunting fouls, a la Trae Young, some Doncic a little bit, some James Harden. But I think they're getting rid of some of these fouls where players were just slowing down or jumping into guys. And I like that. It makes the game look better. The game's flowing better. There actually is numbers that support this, that there have been less trips to the free throw line within the first 4 games, which is always good. People don't want to see the game slow down. In terms of teams jumping out and impressing me, I've been impressed with Memphis. I know they took a loss the night before we were recording this to Portland, but Memphis has looked good. Ja Morant's looked really good and really
going to be
impressive.
a dark horse for MVP this year.
Yeah, that wouldn't shock me, man.
He's a dark horse.
He's looking really good. A lot of people are hyped on the Bulls. Let's see how they do when they play the Knicks. I'm
not. I think it's not gonna last long. So
I'm with you, man. The thing for me with the Bulls is I just don't think they're going to be able to stop anybody, and they haven't played anybody yet. Their best win is probably their last win against the Raptors, who aren't a good offensive team, but they're very good.
And they're rebuilding, so it doesn't really matter. So
and the Raptors almost beat them.
Opponent.
Yeah, and the Raptors almost beat them. They played Detroit twice and New Orleans once. So I'm not high on the Bulls right now. It wouldn't shock me if the Knicks, at the time we're recording this tonight, will go in Chicago, the United Center, and beat them. That would not shock me at all. Charlotte's looked impressive. I still need to see more. I think it's way too early for us to get too high or too low on any teams. The Lakers are going to have some issues.
Yeah.
The Lakers, they
blew a 26-point lead last night to the Thunder.
Yeah, that was bad, man.
That was pitiful. That was terrible.
That was bad. So and I think a lot of it for them is going to be health, how they integrate Westbrook. That's going to be the key with what they're able to do. We'll see. We'll see what exactly it is that they're able to do, but I think a lot of eyes will be on them. And then the Nets, I think they're just trying to figure things out here and see what happens with Kyrie, whether he comes back and rejoins the team. But I think they're not going to take the regular season that seriously. So I think look at some of these young teams like Charlotte, like I said, like Memphis, how they're starting out. They're playing hard. Guys like LaMelo and Ja, they're looking to prove something. And also we got to keep the eye on the Dallas Mavericks, see what they do, because they got a lot to prove too.
What about the Utah Jazz and the Los Angeles Clippers?
Yeah, so the Jazz, first of all, the Jazz, here's the thing with the Jazz. I think they'll be a fantastic regular season team again this year, right? I like some of their fringe pieces, their role players. My concern with them is, can they defend on the perimeter? We saw how they got exposed last season against the Clippers in the playoffs. A lot of it has to do with their perimeter defense. We know they can score. Is Donovan Mitchell going to the next level as a playmaker? Is he able to, with the ball in his hands, to make other guys better? I think they have some good role players. We know what Gobert does on the defensive end. I think they'll be a good regular season team. For them, all the questions come in the playoffs. Who are they against? Who they match up well with? Can they defend on the perimeter? The Clippers.
Well, speaking of the playoffs, that leads to my next question. Who do you think is going to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference?
All right. So this is, to me, I'd be shocked if these teams don't make the playoffs in the East, okay? Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Miami. I'm going to say Philadelphia, even though I'm nervous about the situation. Let's take them out of let's take them out the lock. Atlanta, the Knicks, the Celtics. So I think that has me at 6. I'll say Philly, and I'm going to put my 8th team as Charlotte. I'm going to go with Charlotte. All right. Western Conference. Jazz, Suns, Lakers. We'll find a way to make it.
Somehow.
Clippers, I think will find a way, because I still think they're tough and they learn to play a little bit without Kawhi. The Nuggets as well. I think that has me at, what did I say? Sorry, let me go back again. Clippers, Jazz, Nuggets, Lakers, Suns. That's 5.
Yeah.
Memphis, I'm going to put 6. Golden State, I really do like how they're playing. I should have mentioned them before. Golden State looks really good. 7. And for the 8th spot, man, this is a tough one for me to put. The West is so interesting. I do not like what I'm seeing out of Portland. I want to say them, but I'm not loving what I see out of Portland right now. Dallas. I'll put Dallas. Yeah, there you go. I'll put Dallas in there.
So
Dallas.
For me, I will have for the Eastern Conference, I will have the Hawks in number 1. I believe in the Hawks.
You think they'll be the number 1 seed?
Yeah, I believe in them.
It wouldn't shock me. That's not crazy. It's not crazy.
So the Hawks, number 2 seed is going to be the Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay.
I believe in Giannis. Number 3 is the Brooklyn Nets.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4 is the New York Knicks.
Okay, Knicks are 4.
Number 5 is the, what was number 5? I would say Philadelphia.
Okay, so you got Philly. Yeah, they're hard to predict. They're hard to predict, Kenny, because
Yeah.
everything is going on with Simmons, so it's hard to predict. Yeah.
Number 6, I have the. I'm gonna go with the Pacers. I believe in the Pacers as well.
You know what? I like that pick because I like that I see that you believe in Carlisle. Wouldn't shock me. I'm fine with that. That's good.
Number 7 is the Charlotte Hornets.
Mm-hmm.
And the number 8 seed, I will have to go with the Bulls. I think they're gonna make it this year.
Oh, you think they're gonna make? Wow, so you got the Celtics out. So Celtics not making the playoffs.
I'm not a firm believer in the Celtics. I don't know what it is. Like,
that's fine. Yeah,
I don't know what it is about them.
Yeah, I was talking with a Celtics writer, Jose Pavone, on my show yesterday, and I think a lot of it comes down to how good they are defensively. We know what their 2 stars are, but how he was making that point, and I think there's a lot to that. So we will see. Yeah, I mean, for the Bulls and the Celtics, either one of those teams don't make it. There's going to be a lot of people angry among those fan bases.
Especially in Boston.
Yeah, especially in Boston. Yes, especially.
So for the West, I have the number 1 seed. I will have to go with the Suns. I really like the Suns. Yeah. Number 1 seed goes to the Suns. Number 2 seed goes to the Utah Jazz.
Okay. Yep.
Number 3 seed goes to the Denver Nuggets.
Okay.
Number 4 seed goes to the Los Angeles Clippers.
Oh, you are sinking the Lakers. Okay.
Number 5 seed goes to the Los Angeles Lakers. They got to somehow make it to the playoffs despite all their problems.
That's a good first round matchup. 4-5 Clippers Lakers. I'm here for that.
6 is the Dallas Mavericks.
Okay.
7th is the Golden State Warriors, obviously, because I think they're going to be a dark horse. And 8th, it's going to be a very shocking one. I will have to go with Sacramento.
Wow, who had a big win last night at Phoenix. Oh, okay. All right. That's wow.
And the 9th seed is going to go with the Memphis Grizzlies. And the 10th seed is going to go with the Spurs.
Oh, because you got the Grizzlies and Spurs in the play.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about that. I like the Spurs in the play-in because I think while they don't have a star in their team, I've watched a couple of their games. They've been sneaky good. Mm-hmm. We'll see how they can keep that up. The race for the play-in in the West is going to be interesting because Minnesota's been okay. They're off to a 3-1 start. The Spurs have shown some good things. The Pelicans without Zion, I think, unfortunately, they're going to fall really deep in the standings. I don't see that. But I do see those teams, Sacramento, San Antonio, Minnesota, Memphis, they can be fighting out for the play-in. It's going to be interesting. So, okay, good picks. I like your picks, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer in the Utah Jazz, but I don't know about the playoffs because they tend to choke a lot.
Right.
The Clippers, the Clippers recently got out of their choker label, actually.
Yeah, they got rid of that last year.
They could make it far, but it's always that lingering untrust of them.
Yeah.
So they're not making it to the playoffs. The Lakers, they will get it together, but I just don't see them making them past the second round of the playoffs because all that talent it creates a lot of egos, and that's not really a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of ego. The key thing with the Lakers to me is it's really more on Westbrook, right? Like how, and I'm somebody who's defended it. I generally like Westbrook. It's just how is he going to give up not being able to dominate the ball? He's done that pretty much his entire career. When you play with LeBron, you can't dominate the ball. So is he going to be willing to come off the bench? And that might be best for the team. I think if he could do that, that could be great for the team. Mm-hmm. He can spark that second unit. And it's just when you play him in the playoffs, how do you play against him? Because teams are going to sag off of him and dare him to shoot. And that's going to be interesting. Also with the Lakers, the biggest concern for me, I've been saying 13 guys. There are not a lot of good defenders. We know Frank Vogel's a fantastic defensive coach, but there's not a lot of good defenders here, Kenny, on this team. And just how will they be able to defend, especially as we move towards a playoff time? I'm with you, though. I think the Lakers will, quote unquote, get it together in some way. How much they get it together and how healthy they are by the playoffs, especially as an older team, it'll be interesting. But see, this season, this is what we're talking about, this stuff. The season's really interesting season.
Yeah, and also one other problem that no one seems to address with the Lakers is their age. Their
age. Older team.
31 years old. Like the highest in the league. Well, that's nice. I think either some team in the West has it out. So
yeah, they're one of the oldest teams in the league. And, as you get older, you're more likely to deal with things like injuries, right? Like this is what happens. So it's something to keep an eye on with the Lakers. I think they're going to want to manage LeBron's games played and minutes this season. They're going to be very cautious with that. I think LeBron could have played last night at OKC, but he was held back because, they were like, yeah. And also I think they were like, this is a game we should win without him. Unfortunately, they did not, but
blew a 26-point lead.
26-point lead. Ooh, Laker fans can't be happy about that one. Can't be.
So I have a bonus question for you. So
okay.
Who are your picks for NBA MVP this season?
Yeah, you know what's funny, Kenny? NBA MVP was a tough one for me. I wanted to go Luka. Like I really did, but then I was like, nah, I just don't see it because I don't think he's gonna have enough of a good supporting cast around it. And it's funny because I'm thinking now, I made this pick. Somebody asked me this the day the season started, and I forgot who I went with. And I'm trying to think about it right now, who actually went with. I think my gut, I said Anthony Davis, actually.
That's actually a very interesting choice.
Yeah, it's also it's a risky. I think that's who I said. I think I said Anthony Davis. I don't remember if I put him for Defensive Player of the Year. I think I might have put him for Defensive Player of the Year. Because here's the thing. I don't think Jokic is going to do it again. Oh, I remember what I said. You know what? I did scratch everything I said. I did not say Anthony Davis. He is my decoy. I said Giannis. And the reason I said Giannis is, and I know, this narrative, he's won it twice, but I think Giannis found something in his game. I think he's better than ever. I think the Bucks have a really good regular season, and he might have some otherworldly numbers again whatsoever. I'd like to say Luka, but I just don't think with the supporting cast around him that they'll get him close enough to 50 wins. So I don't think this is the year for Luka. The other candidates, I don't think Jokic will win it again. Embiid, I'd love to pick him, but with everything that's going on Philly and he doesn't stay healthy either, I think it's hard for me to pick him. I'm going to tell a sneaky one I might look at right now. I think a sneaky pick for people that they should keep their eye on, especially if they're into sports betting. Don't sleep on Julius Randle, man.
Oh yeah, there you go.
He got most improved last year. Look, he's playing very efficiently through 5 games this year. The assist numbers are actually up. He's become a better passer. And if the Knicks, I thought the Knicks would win 45 to 48 games. If they get anywhere close to 50, he's definitely in the conversation. He's a guy I would definitely look at. Don't sleep on him at all whatsoever, because he could have some really good numbers and could translate to some wins. So, yeah, but I think my pick was Giannis. Giannis was my pick.
So with me, I will have to go with either Kevin Durant or Giannis.
Yeah, so with KD, talent to do it, and it's funny because KD's also a fantastic start. Nobody else on the Nets really is off to a fantastic start, but KD is
James Harden though.
James Harden's been
he's been this year though.
Yeah,
he's not off to a good start.
Yeah, and he said that a lot of it is the hamstring, and he wasn't able to do much this summer, and understandably so. Mm-hmm. I think with KD, the reason I like that pick more now than I did before the season started, because a lot of times I was like, okay, well, it's going to be him, Harden, Kyrie. A lot of guys are going to score the ball. They're all kind of going to cancel each other out. But now with just him and Harden and KD being sort of the alpha dog on the team, I think that he could put up really gaudy numbers and get the MVP. I think what it comes down to me, though, Kenny, is like how seriously do the Nets take the regular season? You even had them at a 3 seed, if I recall correctly. I think you had them at the 3rd seed in the East.
Yeah, 3rd seed. Yeah, I had it.
So, yeah, I mean, they probably should get around 50 wins. I just don't know if they're going to take the regular season as seriously as you said, like Atlanta, which I don't think was a crazy pick for number 1 overall, or Milwaukee, because they might have guys on that team with more wins and possibly better numbers. But if KD is, putting up 29, 30 points on, 40, 50, 90 shooting, it's going to be tough. It's not a good pick. It's not a bad pick at all.
So I have like 2 dark horse picks for MVP and nobody will expect.
Mm-hmm.
So for it's either going to be 2 people, Ja Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies, or this might be like a out of town pick, Derrick Rose of the Knicks.
Derrick Rose off the bench.
He's actually doing really, really good.
Yeah, he has. He's been really good.
Yeah.
I think Rose is more, just because he won't get the minutes, he's splitting it with Kemba. He'll probably be more in line for 6 man again. I think he's another great pick to win it again. Him or Jordan. Well, he didn't win it again. Sorry, Jordan Clarkson won it last year, but he was in the voting. He was a finalist. Sorry. Ja Morant pick I really like.
Yeah, me too. I really like that.
there's some guys you see them early on and you're like, oh man, they look really good. Like they really look good early on. But I think with him, it's a guy you're looking at like, I think he might have turned a corner. Like I think he might have leveled up here and went to another level. So I think that's a really good pick. And I think if he gets them anywhere near, dare I say, 45 wins, and he's putting up these crazy numbers, he's averaging what, 29, I think, a game right now,
Yeah,
just under 30.
close to that.
Just so, we'll see if he keeps it up. He didn't have a great game last night against Portland. He had 9 turnovers, but I think how he keeps it up and how he fights going forward will be a lot. So John Morant's definitely someone to watch for that MVP conversation this year. I agree.
Definitely.
Yep.
So the next question I have is, are there any projects that you're working on right now?
Yeah. So I do my show, the NBA Exchange. I do that 3 times a week. Now that comes on, if you look at Backpack Broadcasting, my media company, it's on our YouTube channel. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, we go live at 11 o'clock. So we got some really good guests coming on. So that should be cool. Also work on my podcast, Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. So we always have some good guests around sports and hip hop. And then I have a series, Sideline Stories, I've done a bunch of times, and I have some stories I'm working on with that. Hopefully that I'll be able to do over the next couple of months and put some stuff out. So yeah, that's really it, what I've been working on right now. Just kind of working on creating independent content, helping some people with some other content, and just, expanding and growing, man. Just expanding and growing.
No, that's what it's about, man. So where can people find you on social media?
You want to find me on social media, you can on Twitter and Instagram. My handle is at DHenryTV. Real easy, DHenryTV. You can find me there. If you want to give a subscription to our YouTube channels, Backpack Broadcasting, also on Facebook, Twitter as well, Instagram, Backpack Broadcasting, and all the shows, all the products I'm a part of, they have their own accounts on Twitter. So the Sports Walk, that's another show I didn't mention that I'm working on. And Sideline Stories and A Hotel Podcast, NBA Exchange, they all have their own accounts on these different things. So you can find me there. But if you want to follow me, at DHenryTV, for sure.
Nice. I'm definitely going to follow you there. And I hope everybody follows him because he is such a good journalist.
Thank you, man. And Kenny, man, again, thank you for having me. Keep doing what you're doing. And you're just going to build and grow, brother. Build and grow. That's what we do.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much for being on the show today, man.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is the end of this interview. Thank you to Dexter Henry for joining me on the show and his incredible insight. With that being said, head on over to KennyTheSportsGuy.com for future and past episodes. In addition, head on over to my social media on Twitter at Kenny_sports and Instagram at KennyTheSportsGuy. Until the next episode, see ya, and I hope you stay safe and healthy. And